Hi, I'm Doug, your tech support representative here at Atlantic British. And in this video, I'd like to show you the new rooftop tents that we have available. These are the Simpson rooftop tents from ARB. This is a fold-up tent that can be attached to the top on a cargo rack. And matter of fact, this will actually work on several of the Baja racks that we now carry. And this is a nice compact unit. As you can see, this is generally how you would receive it as shipped. There's some assembly required as far as the bottom rails, but other than that, pretty much the unit is complete and ready to be put on top of the vehicle. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you how to assemble it and how to set it up on top. We're going to open it up and we're going to give you a nice preview of this tent. So first part of the assembly is going to be putting the bottom rails on the unit so that this has something to rest on when you put it up on the roof rack. So what we've done though is I've laid some cardboard out. This is a canvas material, which means you get, like if you're getting mud or whatnot on it, it's somewhat hard to clean initially. So what I've done is we put a clean surface down, because what we're going to do then is we're going to open this up and it has to be laid up on its side to be able to access the two holes so to mount the bracket. Now you notice on the bracket that there is sort of an inboard and outboard side. The nut and bolt that you're going to use to bolt it to the bottom of the tent slides inside this smaller slot, and then the brackets that are going to lock this down to the roof rack are going to slide in here. It doesn't matter whether you put it inboard or outboard. Either way is right, because these lay perpendicular to the rails on the roof rack, which means you can pretty much set them in any position you want. So don't worry about that. You can put them in either way. It's still going to work. So you'll see on the one side we have two holes that are already pre-drilled on the bottom of the tent. And what we're going to do is open up the tent and stand it up on its side so that you can unzip the window on each side, put your hand under the mattress to start the bolt. The nut slides into the bracket, so you can't turn the nut. You're going to have to turn the bolt to be able to start it. So I find that the best way is up on its side. You can reach your hand in, get under the mattress. We're going to show you that in a second, and install the bolt that way. Okay, so this is the tricky part. Essentially what we're going to do, we got an 8mm bolt and washer that comes with the hardware kit. We've unzipped the window and the screen on this side, and I can get my hand in under the mattress. And as I said earlier, you have to spin the bolt because the nut essentially slides into this smaller chamber, which keeps the nut from turning. So I found that you can run your finger in there so you can position the nut that way, or a small straight blade screwdriver, or anything with a small end on it you can run into the end of the nut. And you just drop that nut down to where we're just about even. You can peek in there, see where the hole is. Put that nut right in position. As I say, you reach in, and you have to reach in under the mattress. And with one finger you search around, you'll find the hole, which is right there. That comes through there, and then we run that through. Now if it feels like the bolt only threaded in a little bit and then stopped, then I suggest you stop, back the bolt out, and sort of reset it and run it in, because it should actually spin in freely in the nut for at least 2 or 3 turns, and that'll hold it in place for you too. Just a little tip on the installation. We've found that sometimes this little line you see running down through the hole is actually a center line, and so some of these holes have been drilled a little bit off to one side, making it difficult to get the bolt started on the nut. So what I would suggest is pull out your drill bits, find a drill like just about 1 or 2 sizes bigger. This is 8mm or 5/16, so we're going to go 2 sizes over that. And essentially to elongate the hole just a little bit so that the bolt will line up, center up to the nut, and thread in a lot easier. Alright, so in this case we enlarged the holes a little bit. It was only a couple sizes up from 5/16. Was able to thread the bolt into the nut easily. Now, as I said earlier, you're going to need to turn the bolt to tighten it. So in this case, it's actually an advantage. We can leave this loose. We're going to flip the tent over on its other side so that we can start the other bolt and then lay it flat, and we'll actually be able to tighten all 4 bolts from inside the tent. It's nice, the nut is held in place by the brackets. That'll lock them all in, and then at that point, essentially you're just going to fold the tent back up and we're going to set it up on top of the vehicle. Alright, so we did the same thing with this top bolt. We've flipped this over on the other side. We've unzipped the screen. We've unzipped the window. We can reach our hand in, slide the bolt in. And then we've also had to drill that hole. We did it on both. We're just 2 sizes over the 5/16, which worked out perfect. The bolt threaded right in. Now, I set them up so that the larger opening was outboard on both sides. As I explained earlier, it doesn't matter. You can do it either way. I just did it to add a little conformity to it, so just in case you see that. No specific reason, works fine. So what we're going to do now is we're going to lay it back down flat, get inside the tent, tighten up the 4 bolts to lock the racks onto the bottom of this, and then we're going to get our assistants to help us pick it up and put it up on top of the unit. Alright, so we have the unit up on top of the LR3. Now, a couple hints. If you have an LR3 that still has the air suspension in it, I would suggest then lower it down to the assist level or the lowest level to make it easier to get the tent up top. Even with an assistant or 2 or 3 people, I mean, it's a 110-pound unit, and you want to do it safely. You want to try to get it up there and mount it up as easy as possible. Now, in this case, this LR3, like many of them that are out there, already have the coil spring replacement in it, so you're basically set for one height. So what I found is, in this case, I find it a little bit easier not to have the lower bolts installed, because then you just got to be able to pick this thing up an additional 3 inches to get it up and over the rails to set it in place. So I've kind of chosen to do it this way, and you might want to try it yourself. With the assistance, we've put the tent up on top of the roof. And then with the brackets supplied, what happens is you can see that you would not be able to install the bolt once the bracket is slid in place. So what we're going to do then is we'll have an assistant, we'll pick the side up of the tent, we can throw a block of wood on the side, raising it that additional 3 inches, and then we can slide it in place, line it up with the proper cross rail, and then install the back side. This one will go to the front. We'll have 1 more of these to the back. Set that down, start the nuts and the cross brackets. As you can see, this cross bracket right here will actually just grab underneath the rail that you decide to put it on, and then that'll lock it down. And then we'll do the other side, and then at that point we'll be ready to open this up and set up the awnings and install the ladder. Alright, so just quickly to show you, we have a block of wood in here that's just basically raising the one side up 3 inches. We've slid the brackets inside the support brace that's on the bottom of the tent. You can see how it looks. They basically just slide back and forth. You can place them where you want. You just notice that in this case with the Baja rack, you've got one very heavy tube in the back, which I prefer to use for the lockdown. In the front, we're just going to go around one of the other cross tubes, and then actually once we set this down, there are several straps that go all the way around the frame with Velcro. Then you can use that to add additional support and lock down to hold it tightly against the rack. So essentially what we're going to do now is we're just going to lower it. We can reach our hand underneath. There's a cross plate right here that's going to go underneath this bracket. The bolts will run through the holes. Put your flat washer and your nut in place. Then we'll do the other side, and then we lock it all down with a ratchet and wrench. Alright, so as you can see now, we've pulled this outside, and we've simply just pulled the tent open. You'll find an aluminum tube right here, and this slides out, and what that does is support the overhang, which basically gives you protection from rain or foul weather. And the ladder is going to mount here, so this will give you the overhead, this will give you the protection. You'll have 2 of these little hinge brackets, with a rubber grommet for in between. And what you're going to do is unzip the opening, and if you reach just in behind the lip, you can feel the holes in the aluminum frame where we're going to mount these hinges. So we'll drop 2 bolts down in there. And that drops down in there. So essentially how it looks like an arrow, the arrow is going to point towards the vehicle. Now you notice in this case we're mounting this on the side because this vehicle has a lift gate. So you want to be able to open the lift gate even with the tent open so you can access your gear. Now on other vehicles, or even on this vehicle if you prefer, you can mount this facing out the back of the vehicle simply by just setting it that way on the Baja rack and then mounting the brackets and tightening it down. So it gives you that flexibility so you can do it either way. So we're just going to run the nut and bolt on here. We're going to tighten these up, and then once those are mounted up, there are 2 loop brackets on the top of the ladder that are going to pin through this bolt, and with this bushing in between, it's going to allow it to pivot, and it'll also act as a support for the overhang. Alright, so we'll set the ladder close up in place, and what they've done is they've actually set it up so that these 2 loops at the top of the ladder will fall just inside. Now I left the brackets a little bit loose, which will help in aligning the bolt, and then once we actually get everything together, we'll tighten that up. And what that little black bushing is in between there allows this ladder to pivot back and forth so that you don't have a metal to metal contact. And it's got what's called an aircraft style nut, which the majority of this setup has. And they have a nylon washer built inside the nut so that once you've set it in place, so you don't have to make it super tight. You just give it good and snug. It'll pivot on that bushing, and then we'll do the same on the other side. Put the bolt first, then the bushing, then washer, then nut. And it's a 10mm head bolt and nut, so you're going to need 2 10mm wrenches, and we'll just snug down on those pivot nuts, and then we'll tighten the pivot brackets. Alright, so just to show you, this is the ladder in essentially the folded position, and this just slides down, and there are 2 holes pre-drilled in that, so just come down slowly. You'll hear them lock in place. Set your ladder down, and if you want to add a little extra support, you can just tuck your ladder in, and that will add some support to the overhang. And essentially there we go. Now what we're going to do is there are metal rods that are included with this that we can put in the awnings that will hold the awnings extended. That will give you better rain protection and also give you better ventilation in there. So we're going to pop those in, and we'll take a look inside. In case you're all wondering what these long straps are, they have Velcro on the inside, and what you can do is tuck these underneath and loop them around one of the cross rails and just attach the Velcro, and that just aids in tying everything down a little bit. The brackets that we mounted earlier basically hold the majority of the weight of this, but they include these straps just to give you a little additional stability. Alright, so we're going to show you on the awnings on this. You have 3, 1 on each side, 1 in the back, and what you'll get is 6 of these, what they refer to as a spring rod. The reason being is you're going to end up bending these a little bit to get them to work. And what you do is you're going to just hook right into that grommet on the bottom of the awning. And you'll notice a little separation right here, or a pocket built right into the canvas. If you open that up, you'll see a hole that's drilled in at an angle. So if we take the spring rod and then we literally bend it to line up with that hole so it drops in, the spring actually gives it a good support, which would be good in case you're out there on a windy day or whatnot. Most types that just have the straps hold them in place, the straps loosen up, they flap around, sometimes they even get damaged, but with the spring rod, it'll hold tension on it and keep it from banging around. And you're just going to do the same on the other side. We'll open up that little pocket, and we see the drill hole, and we just simply bend that to match the hole. You'll feel it pop in, and there you go, your awnings are up. You can just do that all the way around, and then you can also do it on the back on the fly for the back window, and you can see that where it holds that out and extended, so it gives you better rain protection as well. All right, so we have the tent open, we have the awnings out, the screens are up, and you'll see that there's plenty of room inside here. You can sort of use me as a gauge to give you an idea that could easily put 2 more people next to me sleeping with enough room for some gear as well. So this is basically a really nice place if you want to go camping. We'll get some overhead room so you're not feeling too cramped. Very nice setup. So this is what you'll see on this tent. It's definitely a good addition if you're going to do some camping. It's nice that it's up off the ground. You don't have to worry about digging a trench around it when it starts raining, as we've had to do in the past with tent camping. So when you're ready to order your Simpson rooftop tent, just give a call to any of our knowledgeable salesmen at 1-800-533-2210. Thanks for watching.